This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
If you've been listening to the show, we have been covering things that cost thousands of dollars that buyers and sellers do not expect when they go to purchase or sell a home. And in this last little segment, we are going to be covering the benefits of a pre-listing inspection. But before we get into that and how it can save you tons of money and make your life a whole lot easier and happier, Matt, you said on the break you've seen you personally inspected over 3,000 homes. Is that correct?
I'd say, it's roughly about 600 a year, give or take.
600 a year. And so out of those over 3,000 homes, almost 3,600 homes, what is your favorite style house? For those engineer types, for those people who are detail oriented, they're like, I want the best house with the minimal amount of deferred maintenance, or
I've thought about this way more than anybody probably. Right? This is where I dork out. So best house is north facing. So the front of your house is facing north, back of your house to the south. Cottage style, meaning the front is some type of wood siding, lap siding, whatever. And then stucco from the fence line on the left and the right, or the east and the west, all the way around. So the back three walls are stucco, the front's wood. So you don't have a stucco looking house, right? Mm-hmm. It gives its character. And then because it's facing north, it's opposite weather. So you're not having to shade the house from the sun, right? So you don't have to worry about planting trees. You can plant trees if they fit your curb appeal, but you don't have to clean up leaves, right? It's not necessary to keep the house cool.
Yeah.
And the paint is not getting hit by the weather. So the front of the house is going to stay fresher looking. Right? So, you see those south-facing houses, they get all beat up and faded, and you're like, ugh, right? A north-facing house, it's going to take way longer for that to happen, right? And then you have stucco, which is the least maintenance siding, covering the weather sides. So the south side, you have stucco siding, the west side, stucco siding. So if you maintain around the windows, right, you're pretty good. And then trees, like if you need shade because it gets hot back there, because that's the south side, you can plant as many trees as you want. And you don't have to worry about cleaning up the leaves because it's not exposed to the public area. So if you have 3 big old trees that cast shadows on your house, great. They drop a ton of leaves. It's not the front of your house. So you clean it up when you want. Like only people that see all the leaves in your backyard, you invite over.
Correct. In theory.
Yeah. So you control who gets to see it. Yep. I mean, technically. So north facing house, cottage style. So wood up front, stucco on the back 3 walls. That is by far my favorite.
There you go.
Easiest to maintain.
You heard it. The easiest to maintain by Matt Singer with Good Life. But let's say you don't have the best house to maintain. Go ahead.
Sorry. What kind of foundation?
Oh, good question.
So personally, I'm construction kind of guy, right? Like I have that kind of skill. I would prefer raised. It's just easier to change up things, especially plumbing. If you have a slab house, you got to, jackhammer concrete. So it would be a raised house for me. If you were looking for the least amount of maintenance and you were happy with the way the house is set up and you're not going to make any changes, slab all day. It's just easier.
There you go.
All right. Well, there you go. So let's talk about, let's say you don't have the perfect house. It's not, doesn't have the cottage style, doesn't have the stucco. You're going to sell the house and this is very common actually in the Bay Area. So we have a lot of people moving from the Bay Area, and so the buyers are selling the house in the Bay. It's a fraction the size of the home they're buying in the Sacramento region, and they're selling it for way more money, but they're moving out here, and they're like, where are the inspections? And it's like, okay, we'll make an offer, order your own inspections. That's how we do it over here, and they don't like that.
No.
And quite frankly, I tend to agree with that. Like inspections up front can save a whole lot of heartache and save deals and save sellers a lot of money. And it sets expectations for the buyers. And it's not just the Bay Area doing this. There's other countries around the world. It's a weird thing that we don't do it. And why do you think that is? Why do you think?
One of the other benefits about the Bay is they only have to make one trip. Right? If you have the inspections done already, they make one trip, they find the house they like, they look at the inspections, bam, you got an offer. Mm-hmm. They don't have to come up on another weekend to sit there while they do inspections.
And then renegotiate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I from my experience, some agents they think that starting with a pre-list is starting off on a bad foot. Like you're getting bad information or you're getting a negative to begin this, sale of the house. I can understand that, but that's a perspective. Right? And that's a perspective that can be pushed back on really quickly and easily. It's like, if you were going to sell a car, wouldn't you want to know the condition of the car before you marketed it? It's the same thing with a house, except on a bigger scale.
Exactly. This is like, You take the car for a test drive. You like the car. You're sitting down to fill out the paperwork, and then all of a sudden they lay out an inspection saying, "Oh, by the way, the transmission's slipping."
And then two of the sales lose the wind.
Why didn't you tell me this before?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, like, what I tell people, this is like an analogy, kind of a poker analogy. If you were going to sit down and play poker, and I told you, "Hey, give me $150, and I'm going to show you 3 of the other cards you're going to be playing against," before they even sit down and play them, just $150. You're about to play high stakes poker.
Yep.
Wouldn't you pay me $150 to see 3 of their cards? You strategize totally differently. It's not a guessing game. Mm-hmm. And the pest report and the findings on the pest report, they not only change leverage, but that's like a main tool for negotiating.
Yep.
And so if you just have to pay a certain amount of money before you go negotiate for hundreds of thousands of dollars on a house, why not?
Yep. So that you bring up a really solid point, and we've discussed it a little bit earlier, but just to make sure everybody's on the same page, there's 2 main negotiations that take place when buying or selling a house. The first one is when you're negotiating the contract and you're saying, "Hey, let's
price, right?
Price and timelines and things like that." Then, but if you don't have the inspections, if you haven't done the pre-list, then you're basically negotiating blind. And then the inspections, the home, the roof, the pest, the septic, the pool, depending on what you have going on with the home, all those come in. Then the appraisal comes in, and the appraisal may have certain things on it that you could have known about before that are now surprises to both you.
Yeah, they
and
would
the
have
buyer.
been on the reports.
They would have been on the reports. Yeah.
Yep.
And so now the buyer and the buyer has all this information, and a lot of times sellers go, "Well, I'm selling my house as is. I'm doing it as is. This is an as is sale." And I tell them all the time, I get that. The standard residential purchase agreement contract states all purchases are as is, but the buyer has the opportunity to do inspections and then say, "Hey, I'd like these things fixed if we're going to move forward, or I'm going to back out of the deal."
Yes.
So the buyer has rights too. Okay. And so oftentimes sellers get caught up on that as is situation, and then they're blindsided by all of these things that would have come up on the pre-list.
In a tighter market, that's huge.
And you're dealing with timelines. And so let's say here's what I typically see go down. The seller, against the advice of a real estate agent, prices the home a little bit high because they want to have some margins to come down.
That's very typical.
Right? And so then they finally get an offer. It's the only offer on the table. And now their offer has been accepted on their home they're moving to. Maybe they're moving out of state. Maybe they're staying local. But now they're in contract.
Maximum pressure.
Maximum pressure. Now they're in contract on the next home. And the only way they get that home is if their current home sells.
Good old contingencies.
Right? And then they're getting ready to go. They're packing everything up. And then the inspections come back. And now you're negotiating the repairs. And now you feel like, hey, I have to figure out a way to make it work with this buyer, or I'm going to lose that next home.
You've given up all your leverage.
You've given up all the leverage.
All of it.
And so I see time and time again that costs sellers thousands and thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars, all because they didn't want to spend how much on a pre-list?
Well, if for a pest, it's $150, right, for a slab. And then, like, a lot of people don't want to do, that's another reason they don't do pre-list, is they figure the buyers are going to spend the money on the inspections. Like, why would I? Mm-hmm. And a home inspection is like, $300 to $500. So they don't want to spend, the home is usually the first one they don't want to spend money on for a pre-list. The pest then comes in second because it's cheaper. And we give estimates, so it can be used like as a weapon for a buyer. But what you're saying is 100% accurate, and I've lived it, and it's a shame, right? Because they have to get out. They have a house that they have to sell this one to get into, and now they're in a rock and a hard place where they were thinking they were in the driver's seat, and then everything got flipped. And now instead of being proactive, you're completely reactionary.
And the worst part is, let's say you say, screw it, you know what, this is not working out. I cannot afford to do this. I'm just going to put the home back on the market and we'll figure it out later. Well, guess what? Now your home is essentially a pre-list home because you have to disclose all of the findings.
And you change the perspective on the market, right? Because you're relisting.
And it's like, why didn't the home sell? There's a stigma on the home.
That's it.
Right? And so just begin with the end in mind. Save yourself a whole lot of heartache. Get the pre-list from Good Life Inspections. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. So if you have any questions.
So where can they find more information about what you guys do?
Online, exactly. Our website is Good Life Group. We were formerly North American, so you can still look up North American Home Services, and it'll reroute you to Good Life. We also do general construction services. So like if you move into a house and you want to renovate a kitchen, change a bathroom, whatever, we have the capacity to do that. We are a very large construction company who's diverse, right? There's nothing that happens at a house that we can't handle.
I don't like the term jack of all trades, master of none. Like you guys are like a jack of all trades,
masters
master
of everything.
all.
Yes, we're masters of the universe. We're like the He-Man of inspecting and construction.
Well, thanks again for hopping on the show, Matt Singer, with Good Life Instruction. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll see you next week.